Hoffenheim are struggling. Regulars in the Bundesliga since their promotion in 2007, the German side have done well for themselves, finishing in third place in 2017, and last season secured European football. But this year, it's not gone well. The club find themselves in a relegation battle, and everything that Hoffenheim has built could come crumbling down, so I'm going to step in and try and save the day. But it's not like we're working with nothing at this club, because like many German clubs, they've got some fantastic facilities, a great youth recruitment network, and a big stadium. One thing they have lacked in their history though is trophies, with no real major honours to their name, but we're going to try and change that in today's video. With 5 years as Hoffenheim manager, I don't just want to keep them away from relegation, I want to take them to Bundesliga glory, and we've already got some good players here to work with. Legend of the club Andrej Kramaric might be getting old, but is still a fantastic player. Anton Stach is one of the most well-rounded midfielders in Germany, whilst defensive midfielder Grisha Prommel brings us plenty of experience and leadership. And we're of course going to need that as we try and make this team a regular challenging for the title, but there also are some great young players that we can work with at the club. Recent signing Gift Orban could go to the very top. The Czech Republic international Adam Holzek is only 21, could get way better. And despite having a move lined up to Bayern Munich, Tom Bischoff is proof in the pudding of what our academy can produce. So already looking at this squad, I'm certain they won't be relegation contenders, and hopefully, with a few simple changes, we can get this club climbing up the table. And Football Manager actually agrees with us, because they think, based on our current squad, we are predicted to finish in 10th place. With 50-1 odds of winning the title, it's clearly not impossible that we could achieve that, but realistically right now, that will not be our aim. But we do have money to work with around £4 million to spend and 50 grand a wage budget, so it's not like we're stuck with the team we've got right now, and I'm already going to get started in the first transfer window. I'm going to try and change this team around a little bit and give us a better chance of qualifying for Europe this year. Now granted, it wasn't the biggest transfer window ever, and there'll be more to come in the future I'm sure, because Hoffenheim have already done a lot of their business, but in our first window here, after only a few weeks at the club, I think we have massively improved the team. I'll start with the outgoings though before we get to the new players. Leaving the club was Malian international Samescu, who has gone out to play for Brest in France for 1.4 million. Now he signed years ago from Salzburg for a big fee, but hasn't really played as much in recent years, and to me, didn't look like the kind of player I wanted to rely upon. And I've also let go of the 31-year-old Marius Bulter, who we've sold to Genoa in the Italian divisions. He leaves for 2.6 million. It could rise to 3.3, a little bit more than what the club originally paid for him. A recent signing by the looks of it, but for me, not someone that really fit into my plans. But I did mention there were incomings, and there were two that I think will really benefit us. The first one is Dauda Guindo, who is a 21-year-old Malian left-back who can also play centre-back at a push, but realistically is signing to be our new starter in that full-back spot. He joins us for £4 million, rising potentially to 4.5 from RB Salzburg, and I think this could prove to be a bargain deal with the potential he has. And then there's Nathan Teller. The former Burnley man was on the transfer list for Bayer Leverkusen after their title win, and we have swooped in and took them off their hands. Only £5 million is what we had to pay for him, considering he joined Leverkusen not long ago for way more. There's clearly a player here. Whether he'll live up to expectation, I don't know, but he's definitely an improvement for us on the wing. And with those two signings, I feel like we have massively improved our squad. But let's take a look at who our best 11 would be currently based on what we're inheriting. Of course, this is very likely to change, but right now, in this 4-3-3 system I'm using, we have the stalwart in goal, that is Oliver Baumann at 34 years of age. In front of him, we have Pavel Karabarek, another older player that we might not want to rely upon for too long. Leo Ostergaard is a good centre-back, but is in on loan from Rennes, so isn't here permanently. And then Stanley Nsocki looks to be a good player actually, that we might be able to build around. In left-back, it is Guindo, our new signing, with Florian Grilic, a veteran in the midfield for us, the Austrian international, Anton Stach and Prommel, who you've met, and then going forward, it's Teller, it's Holzek, and it is Kramaric. Three players that we've already looked at. Our bench and our reserves don't exactly look stacked with talent, but it doesn't really look like the game thinks our signings have done too much, because even after all the business we've done, we're still predicted 10th, still 50-1 odds of winning the title, and I'm not expecting us to win it just yet, but I really am hoping in this first season we can get off to a good start so we can get some momentum and hopefully pick up some trophies in our 5 years here. And in our first season, of course, we were predicted to finish mid-table and have a little bit of a mixed bag of a year, and that was kind of exactly what we got. We managed to secure some good results, like when Krameric's double salvo helped us beat Dortmund 3-0. We also managed to get a victory against the brilliant Bayer Leverkusen, but then the next game we turn around and get beat 4-1 by the likes of Frankfurt. So I think a mixed bag certainly fits the bill of how I describe this season, and maybe we should listen to the predictions a little bit more often, because we did finish exactly where the game expected. 10th place, only 12 wins, 16 losses and 6 draws, -7 goal difference and 42 points. To be honest, I thought we'd do a little bit better than that. I'm a bit underwhelmed by those results, so I think going forward, I want to see some changes, particularly when you consider 42 points is okay, but we were actually closer to relegation than we were any kind of European place, so we need to be doing a lot better than this. But the first year in the job is all about learning which players we can rely upon, and realistically, it was the names we would expect. I mean, Kramaric was good with 19 goals, 7 from Stach. Valentin Gendry was one of our better performers. The French fullback has done very well for us this year. Holzek chipped in with 11 goals himself. There was 6 from Nathan Teller, and Dauda Guindo had a good first season at the club. There's nothing really to shout home about, so we're going to have to do a lot of work on this team if we want to make them a European regular. Now, if we have a look at the transfer budgets, I don't know if we've got enough to really make that happen. 10 million, it's a decent amount, but is it enough to completely change the fortunes of a squad? I'm not so sure, but now that we've got year one out of the way, this is where we can really get stuck in. We can make some transfers in, make some transfers out, start making this squad our own, and hopefully start getting some better results. Okay, Season 2 transfer window, strap yourselves in, this is where it gets good. We have sold a bunch of players on, but also bought in some brilliant talents too. Before we see them though, I would ask you for your support. If you are enjoying this, if you just want to be nice, to hit the like button. It really helps me out here on YouTube in terms of the video's performance, so a big thank you to anyone who does that. The support recently has been great, particularly with the delay now for the new Football Manager game. Any of this stuff really does help me, so a big thank you. Subscribe if you haven't already, get involved in the comments. We'll hopefully hit 50k subs soon, which is a big target I've been aiming for. It'd be great if we can get there, so if you haven't yet hit that button, make sure you do so. But let's first start with the player sales. Well, as we already mentioned, we have lost Tom Bischoff, a good young player that goes to Bayern Munich. But let's get into the sales I actually made, and a lot of these guys are kind of names that were floating around the squad that I wasn't going to use. I wanted to get off the wage bill, and I accepted any money I could. So the first one was Robin Haranuk, who we have sold to Utrecht for only 100k. Goalkeeper Luca Philipp has also gone to Heidenheim. He's gone to join them for 150,000. Haris Tabakovic, the Bosnian 31-year-old forward, has also moved on to AZ Alkmaar. Again, a minimal fee of only around 200k. It ramps up a little bit though, with nearly £1 million for Kevin Akpoguma, who is a 30-year-old Nigerian who's gone to Hamburg. He's been at Hoffenheim for so many years, but last season didn't play enough, said he wanted a new challenge, so we've moved him on for £1 million. Oliver Baumann also departs, a mainstay of the Hoffenheim team. He was 35. I've signed a new goalkeeper, spoilers for later, so I decided, you know what, let's get Baumann out, and he's gone to play for Crystal Palace for £1 million. Fiznik Aslani was the next player to go. The Kosovan 22-year-old forward looks to be a good player, but we only play a one-striker system, and we've got many names ahead of him, so we sold him to Hanover for nearly £2 million. I've also sold on Bebu, which might be a bit controversial. I know he's been a good player at Hoffenheim for a number of years now, but I've moved him on to Salernitana in Italy for 1.6 million. He played a lot last year, a lot as a starter, and just did not impress me at all, so I've decided to move him on. And then there's a sale that I really am gutted about. Kramaric was our best player last year, and he's decided he wanted a new challenge as well. He is a legend at the club. In game, he is considered the biggest legend in Hoffenheim history, but here, he wanted out. He's gone to Altai in Saudi Arabia. I mean, he's served as well. It's hard to really complain. Having signed from Leicester, he has done fantastically, but we are going to miss him. We did get 3.9 million for a player in the last year of his deal at 34, but look, it's a sad situation, but we're going to have to move on. Not before Altai took another one of our players though, another one of those that we highlighted as one of our best in Grisha Promel, who has gone to sign for the Saudi club on 50 grand a week for 5.5 million, rising to nearly 7. Not a bad fee again for a player that's in his later years, but still a pretty big loss for us. But fear not, it's not all doom and gloom. We have brought in some great players in this transfer window, but if you're enjoying this rebuild and you'd like to give it a go yourself, then did you know you can get the save files for this over on my Patreon? Now, I'll be totally honest with you, the Patreon is the best place to support me as a creator. Obviously, it helps me massively financially to get an editor, thumbnail designer, all of that stuff. So if you want to support the content in any way, that is the best place to do it. A big thank you to you guys that are already over there. And if you haven't heard me talking about it before, not only does it help support me, but in return, I give you access to the save files from every rebuild we've done, season 1 through to 5, so you can join in at any point and give it a go yourself. I also do polls for the rebuild, so you can decide what rebuild we see next. In fact, Hoffenheim beat out a number of clubs to this most recent rebuild, and there'll be another poll for the next one that we do too. And if you want to watch these videos early and ad-free, that is also a benefit of the Patreon. I upload the videos on there, so there is a lot to give to you guys, and obviously it supports me a lot in return. So yeah, if you want to check that out, I'd really appreciate it. Obviously you get some stuff in return, but it really does help me, particularly now with FM25 not coming out and us having to wait probably until the later end of this year for the next Football Manager game. Interest will die out a little bit. For that reason, I won't make as much money off the videos and whatnot, which isn't the end of the world, of course it's not, but if you want to support it financially, the Patreon is the best way to go. So thank you to you guys for listening to my ramblings, but let's get into who he signed. Firstly, a free transfer, and a good one in my opinion, an Italian under-21 former international, 23-year-old Eddie Salcedo, who joins us having been let go by Inter Milan on a free. Did play actually for Inter a few times last season, but clearly not deemed at their level, but for us, will come in as a very good option. Another player that signs from Leverkusen from the transfer list is Amin Adli, a Moroccan 25-year-old international who can play either wing, and joins Nathan Teller as another former Leverkusen player at the club. £3 million was the fee we paid for him, having only played twice last year. Clearly a quality player, but maybe not good enough for Leverkusen. That could benefit us though. I said I'd sign a new goalkeeper, and I've gone for a younger one. 22-year-old Tjark Ernst has signed for the club for around 3.5 million from Hertha Berlin, a fellow Blue Badge club, as well as Bochum actually. He's played for 3 clubs with blue badges here in Germany. He was good for them last year in the Bundesliga too. I've decided to bring him in on a permanent £3 million, and he is our new number 1. We've then got a fantastic bargain in Vicente Pizarro, a 22-year-old Chilean international midfielder who joins from Colo-Colo out in Chile, where he's been exceptional. £5 million. It's absolutely nothing for the talent we've acquired here, and apparently his market valuation is sitting at about 25 mil. And then finally, I've bolstered the defence with the signing of 24-year-old Austrian Flavius Daniluk. He signs for Salernitana in the Italian divisions, was loaned out at Hellas Verona, did fairly well in Serie A, caught the eyes of our scouts, and the former Real Madrid and Bayern Munich man is now a Hoffenheim player. So there already is a lot of changes in our Hoffenheim lineup. In fact, if you have a look at this best 11, you can count Ernst, Daniluk, Guindo, Pizarro, Nathan Teller, and Adli and Salcedo, all those players that we've brought in our short time here. Dennis Geiger is a midfielder that keeps his place and will expect to play more now that we've had some departures. Attila Szalai, the 27-year-old Hungarian, also comes into this best 11 team. But I do like what we've built here. I still feel like we need a bit more depth in the bench and the reserve areas, but now that we've signed some players here, we can see how they go, start replacing them as time goes on as well, and eventually build up a squad that can hopefully challenge. Right now though, the board are expecting mid-table, and the game is predicting mid-table also. Still 10th place prediction, 100 to 1 odds instead of 50 to 1 odds now of winning the title. Clearly, the game has lowered their expectation of us a little bit, but I actually think we've got better. Only time will tell though which of us is right. I feel like we've done a good job here. Maybe in season 2, we'll see some better results than we did in that pretty poor season 1. I will come out and say it straight away in season 2, I feel like I might be the man for this Hoffenheim job, because this year we have had a much better season and we're certainly showing signs of progress. Our best result of the season was undoubtedly another dismantling of Borussia Dortmund as we beat them 4-2, but we were loving scoring goals and even stuck 5 past Freiburg in a brilliant win. But we didn't stop there, we even managed to put 3 past Cologne, and overall it was just a much better season than before. Now granted, we did still lose some matches, but we won a lot more than last time. In fact, so many more that we're actually going to be a European competing team this season with 52 points, a 6th place finish, and a Europa League spot for next year. 15 wins was our final total, 12 losses and 10 goal difference. You can see there has been an improvement, and we need to continue that as we hopefully keep rising up the table. But as for right now, I'm certainly taking this. If we have a look this year, we have learned a lot actually about who we can rely upon in this squad. Eddie Salcedo was good when called upon. We also saw Anton Stach become a key player for the club, as was Dauda Guindo in a much better season than year 1. 16 goals were scored by Mergin Berisha, a forward that I didn't really know too much about. I think he was loaned out in season 1, so I wasn't really aware of him, but then he came and scored 15, really helping us after Kramaric departed, of course, in the most recent window. Nathan Teller managed to score 7 as well, so you know what? Happy with this season. A lot of our new signings managing to contribute. Adley with 5 goals as well. Really chipping in, a good team effort, and it puts us in a good position now moving forward, particularly when you see the budget. We have been given 40 million quid now in season 3. Clearly this European place has made the owners back us a bit more. £80,000 in wage budget with players that we could potentially sell to. I feel like season 3 is going to be a massive window, and with the way we're going so far, the right kind of signings on top, and before you know it, we could be a Champions League team. And this is how you know it's a Jake Cooper rebuild. We've been at the club for 3 seasons and already we've gone from having a starting budget of 5 million quid to this year spending nearly 50 million and selling nearly 50 million pounds worth of talent. Firstly, a bit of a strange departure. I have decided to sell Berisha despite scoring a lot of goals last year, and when I did decide to sell him, the offers were nowhere near what I thought they would be. We've only got £1 million for the guy after 15 goals in the Bundesliga, but it will all make sense as to why I've done this in a second. I just did not think he was the man for me long term. Being 28, I want to build around someone different. He's a good striker, but Brentford take him in as a squad player, and I don't think we're going to miss him too much. Dennis Geiger has also departed, another one of those starter players that we initially had moving on. He has gone to play for Al Fazali out in Saudi for 3.4 million quid. Got 11 assists last season actually, so it was pretty important. Maybe it was his corners, I don't know, but either way, Geiger has left. As has Ozan Kabak, a player that I was actually hoping to build around quite a bit in this rebuild, but he hasn't really got the game time he's after. Year 1, 18 appearances, didn't play well. Year 2, got given 6 appearances, played even worse, to be honest with you. So to sell him on for pretty much all the money we paid for him initially, it's not the end of the world. In fact, at the end of the day, we could get 5 mil for him. But the departures kept coming. There was 3 more. The next one was Florian Grealish, the 30-year-old Austrian, an experienced midfielder that we are seeing leave the club. Coming towards the end of his deal, it was time to move him on, and he's gone to Saudi Arabia for 6 million quid. There was a quick turnaround on Eddie Salcedo, and one that I could not reject. The Italian 24-year-old has gone to Al Fateh in Saudi Arabia for 11.75 million, rising to nearly 15, and considering he only played 10 times last season, 4 starts, I don't think we're going to miss him massively, and we'll take that money. And then Anton Stach wanted out. The guy said he wanted to play for a stronger club, and to be fair to him, I think what he wanted was money, because he's got nearly 400 grand a week at Al Nassr, where he's eventually moved to, which is a lot more than we were paying him, 15 million quid. He was great for us last year, but it is a lot of money for our Hoffenheim team, and it's a lot that we could now reinvest and improve our squad. We started by bringing in Albert Sambi Lokonga, the former Luton and Arsenal man, was a free agent. We picked him up on a free, spent last season out on loan at Burnley in the Championship and did very well, caught the eyes of our scouts, and for a free transfer, I don't think we can look at this in any kind of bad way. I then went to Slavia Prague and signed a 23-year-old Norwegian by the name of Christos Zaferis, who we have picked up for 5 million quid. He's done very well in the Czech Republic. In fact, insane average match ratings in recent years. Clearly too good for that level, but can he take the step up to the Bundesliga? We have a new striker too in the form of Armando Broja. The 24-year-old Albanian of Chelsea has left the club on the transfer list, having not done anything for Everton, not done anything for Chelsea. He's looking for a new home, and we paid 8 million quid for him. Hopefully we can get around his injury proneness, but I feel like as a striker in the Bundesliga, he could do great things. But then there's our 2 biggest signings. The first one is Edward Spierzian, who is a 26-year-old Armenian midfielder who can play a little bit further forward. We've signed him from Leipzig for 13 million quid, where he joined from Krasnodar and did very well in the Bundesliga. So you know what? I mean, 30 million, it's a big chunk of money, but I think we're getting quality for it. Our new signing, though, was our new option for our left wing position. It's Jose Juan Macias, a Mexican international who scored 13 in 26, 1 in every 2 games for his country. Now 26 years of age, we paid 14 million to bring him in from Santos Laguna out in the Mexican divisions, where again, he's another one that's been doing so well. 25 and 28 last year. Obviously, our scouts are interested. In he comes, and hopefully, if he can do even half of that, I'd be more than happy. But after only such a short time here already, this Hoffenheim team is pretty much completely changed. The only player that remains from the club we initially inherited in our best 11 is Gendry at right back, who's actually been doing quite well over the course of this rebuild. And then there's Slazai as well, who's also still in the club. But if you actually have a look at that best 11, I mean, Danny Luck, Guindo, Ernst, Lokonga, Spiertzam, Pizarro, Tella Adley and Macias are all our players. Realistically this season, I want to see something a bit more like this with Armando Broja coming into that starting lineup. That is a very threatening front three, and it's not even to consider the fact that the likes of Teller, Holjet, Gift Orban are all on the bench ready to make appearances when needed. Now, I would be surprised if we were still predicted mid-table. In fact, the board now want us to qualify for the Europa League, so they want 6th place minimum basically. The game though thinks we're going to finish in 8th, 50-1 title odds. Of course, this year there is the new challenge that we are playing European football, and we'll certainly give that a go, but I don't think it's going to be easy. It's our 3rd year at Hoffenheim, and now we want to start proving to everyone that we are building something special here. So our 3rd season has been and gone, and this year actually, there were some great moments for the club to have, particularly when we talk about our European journey, where we'd done well enough in the league phase to make it to the round of 16. And we came up against Crvena Zvezda, the Serbian side who beat us 2-0 at home, but when they came to our stadium we got off to a flyer, and it wasn't long before another corner was finding one of our players to head it home to level the game. And as the minutes ticked on, extra time looked likely, until a moment of magic. Zafaris into Broja in the area, he fired home, and we were heading to the quarter-finals of the Europa League. The only issue is we were against Newcastle. And I won't lie to you guys, it was embarrassing. You'll see we lost 7-1 at St James's Park, 2-0 at our own stadium to lose 9-1 on aggregate. We got shown who the better team was there, but thankfully, we did have a decent time in the league that we can fall back on and say, you know what? This was a good season. Because we finished in 5th place this year, 54 points and another European spot. If you have a look, we also finished in the semi-final of the Pokal as well, nearly making it past Leverkusen. But the Bundesliga, I am more than happy with. This year, a very strong finish. Yes, we are miles off the top of the league just yet, but we are improving. There's of course a massive gap between us and the big 4 here in Germany, but if we can get things right, I don't think it'll be long before we start breaking that gap up a little bit and getting closer, because this year, we had some top performers I can look at and say, yes, you're going to be here the whole time. I mean, Broja scored 24 in 40 games. Tjark Ernst was fantastic this season. The young goalkeeper really coming into his own after struggling in his first year. He's looking great now. We saw Adli get 9 goals. We saw 6 from Holdziek, 6 from Pizarro, 5 from Zafaris, 10 from Spiertzan, 7 from Jose Juan Macias, who we might have wanted to do a little bit better. But you know what? These guys are all chipping in and helping the team. It's not like we're relying upon 1 or 2 players. We have got everyone doing the job for us. And I think there's some players here that I could certainly imagine winning a Bundesliga title with. Granted, we still need a lot of changes, but we could definitely build around some of these guys. And with a transfer budget of 54 million in Season 4, we can really have some fun. We can sign some stars and hopefully make this team a real title contender. And with only 2 years to go here at Hoffenheim, the pressure is on if you want to win a trophy, but I feel like the players we've brought in this year take us up another level. But before we see them, this is the last time I'll ask you, don't worry, the plugin will stop here. But if you are enjoying the video up to this point, if you're still watching after this amount of time, I would appreciate it. If you haven't yet, if you could hit that like button, again, it really does help me, but I'll shut up now. Let's get into the transfers. Sadly, we have lost Szalai. The Hungarian defender has gone to sign for Al Hazem at the end of his contract. He decided he wanted to move on, and he has gone to join Saudi, and like many of our players, I'm sure we'll enjoy his time there. Gift Orban, this one is a crazy deal, but he just did not work out for us in this save at all, so we sold him for whatever we could because he didn't want to sign a new deal. He only had 1 year left, and it was either lose him for free or get some money. So we've got 150k. I know it's absolutely nothing, but he's not been great for us. He hasn't really raised his stock, so he's gone. Arthur Chavez is another one that's moved on, having not really impressed. The Brazilian has signed for Internacional in the Brazilian leagues for 235k, having done nothing for us really. Alexander Pras has moved on too. The Austrian 26-year-old has gone to sign for Gladbach for 1.1 million. Spent last season out on loan there, and that deal has now been made permanent. And then the young defender Joshua Kouaji has also moved on. He's a player that's been here for a few years and actually played quite a bit last season, but with the centre-backs that we signed, he wasn't going to get game time. It was the right time to move him, so he's left for a pretty minimal fee, to be honest. But now the fun bit. Who's coming in? Well, this is the worst of the signings, and that shows you how good the rest could be, because Calvin Ramsey is in as some extra cover at right back, a free agent signing from Liverpool. That's the kind of player we want. For anyone that continues this rebuild over on Patreon, you have a brilliant new gen to look out for. Emiliano Silva, an Argentinian 18-year-old who we have signed from Talares for 5 million, where he's been doing great, so we've loaned him back out for another year. He'll be in our team next season, but for right now, I want him to fulfill that potential, become a top player, and then come to us next year in our final year at the club. Tom Roth signs from Manchester United, a 22-year-old German fullback, formerly of Union Berlin and Dortmund, signed for Man U in this save and never really got given the chance, so 6 million for a player that I've seen valued at way more on some occasions. I think is a bargain. Speaking of bargains, we've got an even better young goalkeeper in our ranks now. Noah Atabulu, the 25-year-old German, is destined in real life probably to be Germany's future international goalkeeper. If he isn't already, maybe he already is, I'm not sure, but he's thought very highly of. In this save, he's played at Freiburg as their number one for a number of years, despite his young age, and has been doing pretty well. So 7 million quid for that is a no-brainer. Then I felt we needed some improvement at centre-back. If we could improve defensively, I already feel like we have great attackers to work with. So I've gone for 25-year-old Marco Pellegrino, who signs from Milan in Italy, of course. 9.25 million was the fee for him. He spent last season out on loan at Bologna, did well enough, caught the eyes of our scouts, and he is a new Hoffenheim player. But I still wasn't happy with centre-back, so my biggest signing of this window was Serdar Thaçi, the 24-year-old Turkish international. We've picked him up from Trabzonspor out in Turkey, where he's been doing so well for 3 seasons now. 15 million, it's a lot of money, but actually for what we're getting, I'm going to say it's a bargain. And credit to Valentin Gendry, because he is the only player hanging on in what is now considered our best 11 from what we initially inherited. Granted, there's still some names in the reserves and whatnot of players that were here originally, but we have made some wholesale changes to this Hoffenheim team. And looking at that team now, I think it is way stronger. Some real talents in there, some players that could sell for way more, that could get way better. So I'm really happy with the job we've done. In fact, the board are too. They still want that European qualification. And if we have a look, the game is now predicting 5th place, 50-1 odds of winning the title. It's the best we've had yet. It definitely bodes well for a good season. Last few years, we've gone ahead of expectation. So if we can do that again, Champions League football could be on the horizon. And this year at Hoffenheim was the most dramatic one we've had yet. Season 4 lived up to all expectation because we had made it into a cup final. Yes, that's right, this year we had finally made the final of the DFB Pokal up against Schalke, and in the 17th minute, Yassine Adli got us off to a flyer. And it wasn't long before we made it too, a Spurzian free kick from long range bouncing out to Macias, who powered home, and it looked like the trophy would be ours. That was until a Schalke corner found the head of one of their players to make it 2-1. And in the 70th minute, Schalke kept pushing and eventually found the gap. Merkin with a great ball into Asadi, a fantastic player, making it 2-2. And just when it looked like we might really have a chance at our first trophy of the rebuild, in the 90th minute, heartbreak. Asadi again into the area. 3-2, we lost. And that meant we missed out on a trophy in a cup final. It was absolutely gutting. But fear not, because there was a saving grace this year. Because in the Europa League, we'd done well enough that we had made it to a semi-final, only to match up against Hertha Berlin, a team that, to be honest, I felt we could beat, and we managed to do so, and suddenly, we were in a Europa League final up against Marseille. Not the hardest game you could ever ask for. It was a really tight game though, and we went all the way until extra time before a goal was found. Tom Roth managing to play a ball in and finding Nathan Teller, but that was only the start. Because I don't know what they gave the players of both teams after half-time, extra time turned in to a proper battle royale. We managed to go 2-0 up as Macias scored. Marseille though did not give in, and with 112 minutes on the clock, Elia Wahi with a fantastic turn managed to drive into the area, fire a ball across, and Schmidt found the back of the net. But the extra time action wasn't done because despite Marseille's pressing, they got caught out in the defence. We managed to get the ball to Zafiris, into Teller for his second and the goal that would secure us a Europa League title. An insane result for our Hoffenheim team. It shows just the work that we've done over the last few years, the progress we've made, and it wasn't just reflected in the cups because we did well in the league too. Because yes, we won the Europa League, but we would have qualified for the Champions League anyway with a 68-point finish, 21 wins, 8 losses, and 5 draws. 26 goal difference, and a much better year than we've ever had before. Granted, only a point ahead of Frankfurt and Dortmund, it could have been a very different look, but we were basically around where Köln and Leverkusen were last season, so to see this kind of jump shows me the work we are doing is paying off, and now, I mean, we go into the final season with, what, how many points is that to make up? 9 points on Bayern Munich? It's not totally impossible if we get the right players through the door. Now, there is a lot more already here that I would consider the right players, and this year proved it. I mean, Emiliano Silva, out on loan, had a great year and is going to come to us as a fantastic player, but I mean, Broja, 32 goals, 16 from Adli, 11 from Zafiris. We saw 12 come from Nathan Teller as well in his best season yet. Macias scored 17, and that's just the goal scorers. Lots of great performers outside of them, like the goalkeeper Otabulu, Sambi Lokonga, and of course Pizarro in the midfield as well. We are running the show here, and I feel like we might be going in the perfect direction for a brilliant last year. We've got £33 million to spend. The budgets have gone down a little bit, but it does mean we can make some big signings still and improve this team. The club balance is looking good for those wondering, and there is nothing in the debts and loans. At the same time, I've been working in the club's facilities and recruitment network. That's looking good too. We are in the right place with Hoffenheim. We've won the Europa League. Now, with trophies in the bank, this is the time we need to push on and try and win the Bundesliga title. And this window, I've got to say, I'm not going to lie to you, we kept it a lot more low-key, less signings, but I feel like we went for quality over quantity. The only real sale to note was Calvin Ramsey, who we've moved on to go and join Aberdeen for 600k, back to where he initially started. Coming in though, there was 3 players, all super talents. The first one is Maximo Perrone, an Argentinian international 25-year-old signing for free, having been let go by Man City, went on loan to Bournemouth last season. Como is where he started, but I think this is a great player to pick up for absolutely nothing. What about this one though? The Bundesliga legend that is Omar Marmoush is now a Hoffenheim player, formerly of Wolfsburg and of course Man City in this save. He went to Man City and then moved to Southampton. Obviously, this FM world's a little bit weird, but he ended up doing pretty well in the Championship and in the Prem. Left Southampton as a free agent, looking for a bigger club, and now he joins us, aged 29, and an Egyptian legend. And then our biggest signing yet, I splashed out pretty much our whole budget on Rooney Bargi. This Swedish 22-year-old right winger has joined us from FC Copenhagen, where he has been unbelievable isn't even the word. An 8 average match rating is amazing. To get that 2 seasons on the bounce, this guy is too good, and now he's going to join us as our best right winger. Hoffenheim fans though, tell me what you think. I think this team is absolutely fantastic. Atabulu is in goal, and he is a great goalkeeper, still with a lot of years in the tank. Gendry is our only surviving member of that initial team, age 28. Sarchi, Pellegrino, Guindo has been here from year 1 and has become a Bundesliga mainstay really. Perrone, Lakonga, Pizarro, who has just got better and better as the years have gone by. And then the front 3 of Bargi, Adli, and Broja. Lots of great players all throughout the team. I mean, Silva, Holdejek, Marmoush, Spiazian, none of them even make it into our first 11. And if we now have a look, the club's in a great place, but the game itself, the board are thinking Champions League, the game are predicting, drumroll, 5th place again. 20-1 odds of winning the title. Bargi considered one of the best talents in the league. We're going to try and prove that wrong though. We got Champions League football last year, the board won it again, and this year, we're not just going for that. I want to push for a title. And in our 5th and final season, a lot happened. In fact, I'll start just by telling you about our first Champions League campaign, where we did okay, made it to the round of 16 and got blasted by Man City, so clearly not at that level just yet. But in the DFB Pokal, we had once again made it to a final. Our opponents on the day were Bayern Munich, and unfortunately, their quality told over us, and we lost another Pokal with Musiala getting the only goal in the game. Alongside that, we also lost a Super Cup in close fashion, the Europa League versus the Champions League winner, and you would assume that means we won no trophy this year. But in the Bundesliga, we were heading towards the final days of the season with a chance of winning the title. In fact, if we won our final 2 games, we could secure the trophy ourselves, and nothing anyone else would do would matter. So you can imagine my disappointment when on the second to last day of the season, we lost to Freiburg. So it all came down to our final match. We had to win it to win the title. Our opponents on the day were Hamburg, and we absolutely demolished them, winning 5-1 overall, and that meant that we had done it, we had won in our final season the Bundesliga title. Now, would I have loved to have won the Pokal and the Champions League? Of course I would have done, but a Europa League and a Bundesliga for Hoffenheim is exceptional, finishing 1 point ahead of Leipzig, 3 losses all season, all in fairly decent games that you could lose actually, and the draws all came against teams that you might expect to draw against, so it wasn't the end of the world. Broja was top goal scorer in the division this year with 19 goals in 25 appearances. Fantastic stuff for him, and it just wasn't him though that was doing great this year. It was all around performances. Bargi came in and set the tone. Macias with 20, Perrone with 8, Spurzian with 6, Pizarro with 11. Marmoush only scored 4, but it's not the end of the world at all. This team has lots ahead of them still. It's a young squad, and for anyone continuing this over on Patreon, you've got some great players to work with. You've also got a budget of 60 million as Bundesliga champions to try and make this team a Champions League side and do what I couldn't do, but we finished this rebuild in a great place. We have finished on the favoured personnel list, as is our goalkeeper that we bought in year 1, Tjark Ernst, and I think we can certainly call this whole thing a success. Hoffenheim have been rebuilt, gone under relegation worries, they are now a title winning team, and it's another club that we've rebuilt. Let me know who you want to see next, and remember to head to the Patreon to get involved in the polls to decide who's next. But thank you for all the support, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.